Hello everyone, Duckville here. I thought I'd just do a little bit of a vlog just based on, well, for my own sort of posterity later down the road perhaps, but also just so you guys could have some, some insight as to how I went during Dreamhack. Of course, if you want to give your own feedback as to my casting and that sort of stuff, always please anytime go ahead and tweet or email me, anything like that. Leave comments on videos, all that sort of stuff. I do love to hear from all of you. But yeah, I thought I'd just have a little bit of a sort of rant about DreamHack and that kind of stuff. The experience that I had, it was a whole lot of fun. Obviously, I actually got the word that I was going to be able to do the community stream a little bit later than I'd expected. So switching over to Swedish time, or Central European summertime, I think it's called, is was a little bit of a tough thing to do because I basically had one night to do that, and so I effectively stayed up for my time Friday night, which is sort of American Thursday night and European Friday morning, um, for about 16 or 17 hours, or no, it would have been more than that, maybe 18 or 19 hours or something like that, to try and stay up so that I was ready for the event, which is a pretty, uh, it was a little bit difficult because I normally only sleep like 4 hours or so anyway, but yeah, anyway, so that was a little bit fun, and eventually got used to. I did have quite a sleep in that morning, but yeah, eventually I got into that rhythm and was okay. And then so we had day one, got used to the event, and the setup for everything, and it was pretty cool because we got a lot of information from the administrator that was looking after us in the English cast. Of course, he did a wonderful job with that. We are talking of Steez Joe. I can't remember how to say his thinger properly. Steez Joe or Steez Joe. Of course, the Swedish gentleman who was looking after the community streams for DreamHack. He did an excellent job of that. Um, and yeah, so we got to select the games. Of course, it was myself and Jorasar and Mattles and Zoya and Shantu and some of the other guys that were there as well, and Axeltos, and we all got to pick some games and decided what we wanted to cast, and that's where that spreadsheet came out for you guys, which was really cool to be able to see everything that was happening on which stream at what time and that kind of stuff, so you could catch your favorite players. Day one I got to do quite a lot of, well, pretty much almost exactly what I was hoping to do, which was a lot of of course, the local Australian pig who'd ventured over to Sweden to participate in the event. Um, Interestingly, day one, I actually only got to cast him once because he was on the mainstream for his first game, and then his second game against I Eat Puppies was a bit of a quick one. It was just a 2-0 from Pig there. It was playing against a Platinum Zerg player, so that was understandable. But we'll talk about that in a little bit because that's one thing which I did want to uh, elaborate on is the players who have just come to give it a go, and that's something which I really appreciated. But anyway, and then Pig's next opponent, Firefly Hugs, wasn't there, so there was only actually one game for Pig that I got to cast, which was a little bit unfortunate. But then, I got to cast a lot of a few other big names that were there as well. We had Elfie versus Zephyr, and of course, I had a lot of the Finn fans who turned up. The Finnish folks joined the chat and were really, really nice and everything, and were talking to me. They were speaking in their own native language as well, and that was cool because I can appreciate that. It's always easy to speak in your native language, but then they were helping me with learning some words as well, and they were really good about that. So shout out to all of you guys who joined in. That was really cool. We had some other interesting games. Most of day one was pretty much sort of a high level player against either a sort of an unknown or someone who just turned up to have a go, and the sort of and that was one thing which, as I said, I did really like to see. Like, it's one thing to go to an event and have some fun with people that are your own sort of rank and your own sort of skill level, but to go to an event and participate against someone like has one of your first few games, who is a Korean Code S GSTL winning player, is just it's a completely different thing because you can't go into that and say you can't really go into it and say, oh, I've got a full shot. This is easily, legitimately, I've got this. This is a thing where you have to go into it and say, what do I do? All right, what I got to do is just have a bit of fun. That's all. That's all the the game is about. The event's about. All that kind of stuff is having fun, having a little bit of entertainment there, and giving it a good shot. So that's where we got to a point where we had Morrows, not Morrow, not the Swedish Terran Morrow, the winner of some previous events, but Morrows, another Swedish Terran. It was very confusing for myself initially, and also the chat at the time that we had Morrows. But I had a quick chat to him just before the game, and I said, we've got a few Swedish fans on the stream who are looking forward to seeing you, which um, I of course pumped up a little bit as well because I wanted to give Morris a little bit of confidence, and he rolled with it. It was really fun to talk to Morris about playing against Gumiho, which, as I said before, you're playing against someone like that, you think, well, what am I really gonna do here? And Morris was really good about that. He even came into the stream chat afterwards and said hi to the all the people. We had like, I think it was about 400, 500 people on the stream at that time. Obviously, a lot of them wanting to see Gumiho, and then some of them, of course, we started a hashtag cheer for Morrows, and got that rolling a little bit. It obviously didn't get too far, but still. Yeah, that was the kind of thing which I got to experience with casting these DreamHack games from day one, especially, where it was someone who just wanted to give it a shot, and that's one thing which I really liked. So it was really good to have that. We then also had Runa versus Night End, which was the pretty much the only game of the day that actually went to three. Sorry, the only set of the day that went to three games, because Night End was it was a PvP, so that sort of does help things be a little bit more a little bit wonky at times. But Night End and Runa were very well matched up. They had Night End mostly pushing forwards and being very aggressive with the way that he played and trying to do blink call-ins. He tried to do busts, these kinds of things. Eventually, it came back to bite him though. And again, then we had another match between another PvP. It was Harster versus Loki, and of course the Dutch fans came out to cheer on Harston. That was really good to see some of the Dutch folks come in. We also had Mist versus Squirtle from. There was some players from Mist team who were also in the chat. Those guys were really cool. Obviously, again, Mist facing up against the GSL Codes runner-up. What do how do you feel about that? But he gave it a red hot go, and in I think it was game number one, Mist was actually doing really nicely. So that was really good to see him doing quite well against Squirtle. Mist is also a really young player as well. Like along the lines, we have people like Life and also Petraeus down here in C, who some really young players who did really well. So it's always good to see that kind of thing. We had Jadong versus Soral. I didn't know too much about Soral, but I was informed again by the chat. Everybody who came into the chat was really helpful and really informative about some of the more unknown players that I didn't know about. So it was really good to see Soral come out, because apparently he again is another player who is actually doing quite well for himself locally. But then again, facing up against the Tyrant, and this was, I'm sure some of you would have seen my Facebook post and the tweet saying that Jadong said hello duck, and I was like, I was going all fangirly at that moment, so that was a little bit of a weird moment for me. But there was also Taja versus History, again another mirror matchup that went a little bit one-sided, but History gave it a go. He was the second person to pull out the proxy Thor build, which we actually got to see Morrow's attempt earlier on against Gumiho. So that was quite an interesting little matchup there. There was what else was there? There was TLO versus Eco Biko, another mirror matchup. It was crazy. It was like a day of mirror matchups, so that went 2-0. But TLO was also quite good with his games there. And then another really big match that was on the stream was Mana versus Climax. And Climax, one of the only Norwegian players that was at the event, I think. He actually looked pretty reasonable at times. I'm not sure exactly what his sort of positioning is on ladder and that kind of thing. If I remember correctly, he's sort of high masters. But he tried to take it to Mana, but Mana is just such a strong player, and That took us a day two. I had a couple more pig games as well. There was pig versus Slivko, which was actually a really good Zerg versus Zerg matchup until they left me out. Game number three, pig, you're gonna get it for that. You left me out of the game, so I had to do like an audio overcast of Damaga's stream. We said to everyone, go to Damaga's stream. I'll commentate it in English, so you don't have to listen to Damaga doing it in Russian, unless you know Russian, in which case you're set. But yeah, that was a really interesting little set from those guys. And then the big one, which really which it helped that the mouse Twitter retweeted my stream and my Twitter account and everything like that, was Mana versus Devil, and the Czech and Polish fans all came out to play with that. I think that game, and there was another one later on in Phase 3, were the two highest viewer count games of my stream for the entire event. I had around about 1,200, or roughly around about that, for the Mana versus Devil game, and it obviously wasn't a massively high named, sorry, like a highly renowned sort of matchup of two players. Obviously, Mana's very good himself, and Devil is known a bit more locally as well. But that was a really fun game between those two players. The Czech fans, the Polish fans were just awesome. So huge shout out to you guys, because you made that pretty much that day and that cast really fun for me. So really appreciate you guys coming out, teaching me some Czech, and I think attempting to teach me some Polish as well, but that's just a little bit too hard to do. Yeah, other than that, we also had Pig versus Poyo. I had never really heard of Poyo before. Another local, if memory serves me right, he is also a Dutch player, a Dutch Terran player who really impressed in game number one. I thought that Pig was in a very good spot, but Poyo was just massive when it came to his macro. That was really, really impressive from the Dutch Terran. And then moving on, we had Show versus Zephyr. Zephyr coming back to play another game as well. There was also Ghost User versus Elfie. Elfie was on fire. I sort of brought it up while we were streaming it, but Elfie, a guy who, with his sort of average 60 APM, it's been mentioned all the time, and I know I've mentioned it again, but for a guy with 60 APM, he is so damn good, and it sort of does bring back this whole thing of, do you really need 350 average APM to play the game? Because it was in game one, he used a very odd sort of cannon rush, and then sort of took it to sort of a bit more of a macro game, and then just basically just rolled over Ghost User. In game two, it was a similar sort of thing, but without the cannon rush. It was actually looking very promising for Ghost User in game two, but then it sort of just flipped around and Elfie took control. So if memory serves me right, I may be remembering some of this stuff wrong, so, guys, so bear with me. But yeah, there is, and then there was also Tasia versus Hob. Hob, the Swedish Terran, if I remember correctly. I think he was. Hang on, where is it? Yes, no, Swedish Zerg. Sorry, there you go. So yeah, there was some really good games on day number two, phase two as well. And then we had phase three, which was group stage three, which was Pig versus Starnan, which had two wonderful games between those two players. We got to see some really interesting strategies, including the three hatch before pull from Pig, which I had not seen him do before, so I wasn't really expecting that. And we also had Pig versus Todd, which did have a little bit of an interesting moment during one of the first attempts to play on Star Station. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, I'll just link it for you so you can have a look at what happened. Then there was Pig versus Life, and Pig being one of the only people in the tournament who, well, at least for the group stages, took a game off Life. Was really impressive to see how well Pig did with that. Unfortunately, went down. So obviously, overall, it was I did try and favor the local boy Pig to try and watch his games to stream for any the C players, the C viewers of StarCraft, that kind of stuff, and it was a really fun experience. So a big thanks to everyone who tuned in, and a thanks to everybody who helped out. We had I had a few of the mods there, Nissa. Claymores and Nostalgia were helping out with a little bit of modding in the chat as well, because when you start to get like those viewer counts up above the 1,000 and that kind of stuff, people, you do start to get a little bit edgy from time to time. So I'm glad those guys are there. Thank you to the guys for helping out with modding. Thank you to like all the coffee that I had in the V as well. That was insane. Um, and what else? Oh, I suppose you guys might be wondering who is my favorite player uh, overall. Well, if I'm going to discount Pig, just because obviously local bias will put me in that direction, my favorite, I suppose, character or person to be involved within it was Mana. He was a really, really humble, very kind, and also really, really funny person in the chat. That when we got to, because we had like the DreamHack sort of official group chat where everyone was officially in there, and so no randoms could come in and try and disrupt stuff. But Manu is really, really quite funny and really good to talk to. So it was good to talk to him. I suppose, I don't know, if you want like an unknown sort of person that I would like to see some more of, and would be sort of presuming he'll do quite well further on, it would be Poyo. His playing game number one versus Pig was really, really impressive, and I think hopefully I might get to see him further on, maybe at another DreamHack or something like that. And I think, well, that probably about does it. Um, all the VODs have now been cut and are available on the channel. So if there's anything you missed, if there's a play you particularly want to watch, jump on board and have a look at the VODs through my channel. There were a lot of people asking about the drawing tool that I used. It's called SC2 Tactician. You can go onto the website for SC2 Tactician and see if you can grab it yourself. I'm not exactly sure about the status of the program because the developer guy, I have talked to him quite a few times, has he's been a little bit busy, so unfortunately he hasn't been able to sort of work on it any further, but hopefully in the near future they'll be able to, like anyone should be able to grab it, I believe. But anyway, that's what I do. Yeah, just generally, thank you to everyone. Of course, thanks to the sponsors of the event, ISO, Logitech, Kingston HyperX, and Twitch TV. And a big thanks again to Stegio for letting me help cast and all the DreamHack crew. So that's all from me. Thank you for watching. See you guys next time.